All right, here we are going to go with a article critique redeemed by RPG Dinosaur Bob. The Immortal Feyflower is what we are going to be reviewing today. So we have very nice header, background. Okay. Okay, immortal, gram, okay, basic, okay. Genetic, growth rate, okay. Credits. Oh, Flowscape. I was wondering if I recognized that. Okay, let's turn that on and let's get the sprint timer going. Okay, and with the new critique format that we do have, this will be one or two, a maximum of 2 sprints. So we'll spend up to 25 minutes working on this. If we don't get through the 25 minutes and I don't get through the whole article, sorry, but I think 25 minutes under the new structure that we have for article critiques, I think is pretty good. Okay, so yeah, I should buy Flowscape. I think that's a pretty cool game. When Father Berda created the Fey creatures, his intent was for them to revel in the beauties of his works on Catrian forever. Thus, the Fey do not grow old and die as most other beings on Catrian do. But Berdia also knew that accidents could happen, and he knew that one day other Astralar and powers of the astral realms would introduce treachery to the world. Berdia provided a way for his beloved Fae to transcend these circumstances. This form, the form his solution takes, is that of the Feyflower. Whenever the heart of the Fae ceases to beat, a Feyflower will blossom to mark the spot and memorialize the joy and life of the creature that can no longer partake of the wonders of Berdea's creatures. Okay, we got a problem here with my pen. Monitor 2. Thank you. Okay, better. Note the exquisite structure and balance of the flower, each petal much like all the others, and all arranged in perfect symmetry. It is clear that Father Berdia intended this flower to be a testament to the beauty and order of his work, as well as to the place the Fae hold in the maintenance of that order. It is a pretty flower. There are pronunciations on first. Oh, okay. Berdea. Okay, Berdea. Carterian. Carterian. Okay. Berdea. Okay, I'll try to remember that. In the time since Berdea created the Fae, other deities have appeared and made their mark upon. Oh, I already forgot. Carterian. Carterian. Some of these lack the power to create life from the magical energies that permeate the world, but they had the skill and ability to warp and twist life that existed into shapes and demeanors more suited to them. Okay, that that felt like a pretty long sentence from here to here. And so when you think they lack the power to create life, but they had see, this is still the same concept. So when I think of a sentence, you have one idea per sentence. You do have the one idea. You're following the one idea rule. You're talking about their powers, but this still is a kind of a long sentence. And again, I'm a fan of shorter sentences in non-fictional works. Well, non-fictional style works. Of course, this is fiction, but you know. Okay, one of these. Okay, let's see. Gremdial, Gremdial, Gremdial of the Mysticar. Okay, twisted and adulterated Berdea's Fae into creatures called gremlins. As there are many Fae species, so too are there many gremlin species, each tracing its origin back to one of Berdea's creatures, while Grem, uh, Gremdial was able to twist and reshape his targets, he could not completely alter their base nature. Thus, the gremlins, like the Fae, are immortal though killable, and when they do die, an analog of the Feyflower grows to mark the place where they fell. Some call these dark flowers or black Feyflowers, but the most common name for them is gremlin weed. Interesting. Okay. So do we have a picture of the grem? Oh, cool. We do have gremlin weed picture. That is cool. Okay. Feyflowers and gremlin weeds grow a single stem from Feyflowers grow a single stem from which a Fey ligulate leaves emanate. The stem is crowned by a single flower blossom. In the case of Feyflowers, this blossom is composed of hundreds of petals arranged in symmetric circles around a central core containing structures that resemble stamens and pistils. These are not functioning reproductive elements, though, for just like the Fey that spawned it, the Fey flower is incapable of propagating itself. Interesting. That is interesting. The fully grown size of the plant and the specific color and petal structure of each Fey flower are both dependent on the species of Fey from which the flowers sprout. I'm not sure about this comma here, okay, that you have here. The reason why is that it's not a parenthetical that you're setting apart. Like here would feel like, okay, so here's the first comma here. You know, the fully grown size of the plant and the specific color and petal structure of each Feyflower, that would be a parenthetical, are both dependent on the subspecies of Fey from which the flowers sprout. But with a parenthetical phrase that you set apart by commas, you can skip that, and the sentence should still make grammatical sense. So the flowers are grown, the full grown size of the plant are both dependent. So because the information in the parenthetical in this phrase is still necessary for the sentence to make sense, this is not a parenthetical. So I think that this comma that is here should not be there. Okay. Thus, one well trained in the lore of the Feyflower can determine whether the unfortunate creature that fell was a brownie or sprite, a pixie or nixie, or any of the other types of Fey. Okay. I guess I would hope that there would be links to other articles that would describe these other pixies. That could be an idea if you're looking to expand the bestiary. Are are the Fae sentient? That's Then they wouldn't be in a bestiary, they would be a species. Okay. Regardless of variety, the plants produce a faint but exceptionally pleasant aroma that some say is capable of inducing a sense of mild euphoria. Okay, so now here is an example of a parenthetical. Regardless of the variety, that's an introductory clause, the plant produce a faint but exceptionally pleasant aroma. See, so there you would add a comma because the plants produce a faint. Okay, actually, right there. I'm sorry, it would be right there. So these plants produce a faint but exceptionally pleasant aroma because the plants produce a faint aroma. Without by taking the parenthetical out, the sentence still makes sense. That some say is capable of inducing a sense of mild euphoria. This aroma is commonly referred to as Berdia. I'm terrible. Berdea's. Okay, Berdea's breath. Okay. The nectar of the plant, when collected and properly refined, has magical properties. Okay, cool. That is cool. Variables are cool. Yeah, I've been missing some of the new features that have come out. I haven't been paying attention to the uh, some of the blog posts. Variables are cool. Awesome. All right, yes, and for those who are on the Game of Tones, please report your words. Now you all, okay, Elven teacher addressing her students. Now you all know of the relationship of the Fae and Gremlin. The latter were formed out of the former by Gremdial, who deigned to pollute Father Berdea's beautiful works. Because of their heritage, gremlins too are immortal, though subject to death by violence. When killed, their immortal nature is also manifest by the growth of a plant. But just as the gremlins are dark and twisted creatures of the Fae from which they were spawned, so too are the plants that mark their passing. They are but dark and twisted reflections of the Feyflower. I would probably see here, you just have anatomy and you talk all about the Feyflower here, but then we have this quote which serves as a separator between the Feyflower and the gremlin weed structure or anatomy. I would recommend having changing this to anatomy of the Feyflower. Like that, and then later on down here, insert another thing here, the anatomy of the gremlin weed. My penmanship's terrible, but hopefully you'll get that. That way, we have the definitive section headers. So not, this is heading one, this is heading two, but I wouldn't do, like a heading three here to subset it, but just have that, and then you can get back into genetics and reproduction and stuff like that. but I would put a separate header for the gremlin weed for those who are interested to browse the article and find the information more, more quickly. Okay. Gremlin weed, like the creature it springs from, is a misshapen shadow of the form that Burdea intended. Like the Feyflower, a single blossom from a single stem is found. While the leaves are still ligulate, they have irregular edges, sometimes serrate, sometimes undulate, sometimes both. The leaves may have colorations ranging from dark green to blood reds and near blacks. The flower itself is irregularly shaped, always dark in color. All right, let's start the next timer. The aroma emanated from the flower extends the theme of the plant and the creature from which it spawned, a distorted shadow of what Burdea intended. The scent is best defined as putrid, reminiscent of rotting meat, where bees and hummingbirds are attracted to the blossoms of the Feyflower. It is only flies that seek out the gremlin weed blossom. Okay. You bring up the idea. Oh, the hardcore lexicon research into this is really well done, using correct botanical terminologies and things like that. Really well done. But here, the distorted shadow of what Burdea intended, you are hitting that a lot in this article. Um, a misshapen shadow, the form that Burdea intended. Here, again, a distorted shadow of what Burdea intended. I would probably back off of that a little bit. It feels like you're hitting that point home a lot, which is good for those people who read sections at a time, but for people who are reading the whole article, you are mentioning that quite frequently. Okay, put simply, Feyflowers or gremlin weeds cannot be propagated. They do not produce seeds, or cuttings taken from a stem or leaf cannot produce a new plant. If the blossom is cut from the stem, it would immediately lose its aroma and magical potential and will rapidly wither. The plant will, however, grow a new blossom within 24 hours. Ah, interesting. It is possible to dig up the entire plant specimen for transportation elsewhere. Care must be taken, however, to ensure that enough soil is collected so that the remains of the fey or gremlin that spawned the plant are included. If insufficient soil is taken, the removed plant will immediately wither, and a new one will begin to grow in its place, taking about 3 days to mature. Yes, gremlins are bad. But I think this is a brilliant piece of lore here. Um, they can't, these are immortal flowers that can reproduce. But you have to get all of it. That is, and if they mess up, they can come back in 3 days and try again. I really like that part. When a fey creature dies, it decomposes into something resembling damp, fertile soil within a few minutes, and the Feyflower stem will appear within the next hour or so. Plants grow to maturity rapidly, taking no more than 3 days to mature and produce its single blossom. Similarly, gremlins also decompose almost immediately, but their remains are more reminiscent of manure than clean, fertile soil. Very good imagery. Very good imagery. Uses, products, and exploitation. The nectar of the Feyflower is a key component in the most powerful alchemical healing elixirs and is often used in the preparation. Um, there's only one Feyflower per original Fey, yes, okay. And is often used in the preparation of more powerful magical potions that render healing or restorative effects. Those who have achieved very high levels of expertise in these crafts will often seek out specimens of Feyflowers in the wild and carefully transport them back to their own workplaces. It takes at least 2 weeks of collecting nectar from a single plant to brew but a single batch of these potions, hence the very high cost of the product. But this also means that a knowledgeable artisan would be willing to pay handsomely for a properly harvested specimen. Gremlin weed also has its alchemical and potion based uses, though these are not for healing or restoration. In fact, different varieties of gremlin weed have varied uses, ranging from deadly poisons or mutagenic compounds that can be used to produce undesirable, for the recipient, effects. While the while the market for these concoctions or for the plants required to make them is not nearly as open as that for Fey flowers, the demand and associate costs are quite high. Okay, interesting. I'm not sure I like the using the parentheses here. Uh, produce undesirable effects for the recipient. I um I would, yeah, so I would probably just switch those around and get rid of that and just have a period. That can be used to produce undesirable effects for the recipient. So that way, it's like splitting the infinitive, but it's undesirable for the recipient. What? Wait, what? Oh, it was undesirable effects. It makes a person jump back to say to connect the undesirable effects, but it was it would go more smoothly if you just say undesirable effects for the recipient without all the extra punctuation, in my opinion. Because the Fae are everywhere in Cairtrion, Fae flowers and gremlin weed can also be found everywhere. But just as the different varieties of Fae prefer particular biomes, the specific varieties of Fae flowers will also tend to be clustered according to the surrounding environment. The flowers that emanate from the remains of naiads, for example, will almost always be found along river and lake banks. Okay. Those with the magical ability to speak with plants have reported that both Fey flowers and gremlin weed appear to retain much of the memory and personality of the creature that spawned them, though memories are cloudy and the temperament is magnified. Neither type of plant is of much use when, for example, asking about other creatures that may have simply passed through an area. A Fey flower's attention is on the natural world around it. It can report on disturbances to the natural essence of the immediate surroundings, but brief transitional events are often overlooked. Similarly, gremlin weeds will have taken notice of any serious, lasting mischief that may have been perpetrated within its sensory range, but transient events are often missed. When communicating with the Fey flowers, the plant offers responses in a serene, peaceful manner. The gremlin weed, on the other hand, responds with sharp, terse, and often insulting replies. Very appropriate. It has been universally reported that neither Feyflowers nor gremlin wheat are capable of describing the circumstances of the demise of the creature that spawned the flower itself. That's a nice touch. I like that. So they don't know how they themselves or their progenitors died. That is nice. Okay. So, a very pretty article, great header. You have a good background here, good structure. I did have that one recommendation for the header. Some nitpickiness on the punctuation. Maybe backing. I know gremlins are bad, but you can, you know, you know, force that, you know, you can force that information in here, focus that information here, and then not so much everywhere else. But and so you can because we understand that they're bad. Yeah, putting the new header here. Yeah, very nice. All right. And that is the end of that sprint. No, and also the stream.